It was a decision born of desperation. With American warships controlling every exit from the Persian Gulf, Iran's naval commanders faced a choice: sit in a port and wait to be destroyed one by one, or make a run for open water. They chose to run. They thought the cover of darkness would protect them. They thought their missile systems along the coastline would hold the Americans back. They thought that by scattering their fleet across multiple directions, at least some of them would make it through. Not a single one did. What happened in the waters of the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz between late February and early March 2026 is one of the most complete naval destructions in modern history, and most people on the news barely noticed it was happening. Welcome to Defense Scope. Today, we're telling the full story of how Iran's Navy tried to break the American blockade and how the US Navy hunted it to the bottom of the sea. To understand why Iran's Navy tried to run, you need to understand what it was protecting. The Strait of Hormuz is 21 miles wide at its narrowest point. Every single day, roughly 21 million barrels of oil, about 20% of the world's entire supply, flow through it. Iran has known for decades that closing this strait was its most powerful weapon. If the oil stops, the global economy bleeds, and Iran was willing to use that weapon. On February 28, 2026, within hours of US and Israeli airstrikes beginning the 2026 Iran war, Iran slammed the door shut. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps transmitted warnings over VHF radio to every vessel in the strait. No ship is allowed to pass the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's IRGC Navy declared complete control of the waterway. Merchant ships turned back. Oil tankers dropped anchor. By March 2nd, only 2 tankers transited on a single day, both under Iran-approved escort, headed to China. Iran had just weaponized the world's most important choke point, and it was betting the United States wouldn't have the courage to take it back by force. That bet was wrong. Here's the mistake that doomed Iran's Navy before the first American shot was even fired. Iran operates 2 naval forces: the conventional Islamic Republic of Iran Navy and the more aggressive Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy. Together, they command more than 100 vessels, submarines, frigates, destroyers, fast attack boats, mine layers, and support ships. On paper, it's a formidable force, built specifically to threaten shipping in confined, shallow waters like the Persian Gulf. But when the US and Israel launched Operation Epic Fury on February 28, 2026, open-source intelligence analyst H.I. Sutton made a critical observation. Many of Iran's largest ships, including its most capable vessels, had not dispersed. They were still sitting in predictable locations, clustered at the naval base at Bandar Abbas, lined up in port, visible from satellite imagery. Any naval officer worth his salt will tell you that a ship in port during a conflict is a ship waiting to be destroyed. You either sortie and fight, or you scatter and hide. Iran's fleet did neither quickly enough. When the American strikes began, dozens of Iranian vessels were still exactly where the US military expected them to be. US Central Command's stated mission was clear and brutal: sink the entire Iranian Navy. Admiral Brad Cooper, commander of CENTCOM, said it plainly in a video posted to X on March 4, 2026. The United States would not stop until every Iranian vessel capable of harassing international shipping had been destroyed. He called it an ongoing operation. He called it a hunt. US forces struck nearly 2,000 Iranian targets in the first days of the war, using more than 2,000 munitions. Among those targets were Iranian naval assets up and down the Persian Gulf coastline, ships in port, ships underway, drone launch facilities, coastal missile sites, and command and control infrastructure. On March 17th, CENTCOM announced the use of GBU-72 5,000-pound penetrator munitions against underground missile silos along the Iranian coast near the strait. These bunkers had stored Iran's inventory of cruise missiles and anti-ship missiles, the weapons Iran planned to use to keep the US Navy out of range. By the time American bombs finished with them, those bunkers were rubble. Then came Operation Project Freedom, the direct military campaign to physically reopen the Strait of Hormuz. On March 19th, General Dan Kane announced the deployment of A-10 Thunderbolt 2 attack jets to hunt and destroy Iranian fast-attack watercraft, the small, nimble speedboats the IRGC uses to swarm and harass large vessels. Apache gunships were assigned to knock down Iran's one-way attack drones. CENTCOM published footage of strike after strike on Iranian's naval assets in and near the strait. The U.S. Navy and Air Force were systematically dismantling Iran's ability to threaten shipping, piece by piece, hull by hull. With their shore-based defenses collapsing and their ships being destroyed in port, Iran's commanders made their desperation to move. They ordered the fleet to sea. It was a tactical gamble with no good options. If the ships stayed in port, they would be destroyed at anchor. If they sorted and fought, they faced the most powerful naval force on Earth. If they scattered and tried to hide in the open ocean, they were betting that the U.S. couldn't find and destroy a dispersing fleet in contested waters. They were wrong on every count. American carrier-based aircraft from the USS Abraham Lincoln and the USS Gerald R. Ford, operating from the Arabian Sea and the Eastern Mediterranean respectively, ran systematic search and destroy missions. U.S. destroyers and their sensor packages tracked Iranian vessels attempting to move. And lurking beneath the surface, invisible to everything Iranian radar could detect, American fast-attack submarines waited. The result was a massacre. By March 4, 2026, just 6 days after the war began, U.S. forces had destroyed more than 20 Iranian Navy ships. Not damaged, not disabled, destroyed. Then came the moment that sent a message heard in every naval command center on Earth. On March 3rd, a U.S. fast-attack submarine detected an Iranian warship making for the Indian Ocean, attempting to escape the Persian Gulf entirely and reach open water where it might survive. The submarine fired a single Mk-48 heavyweight torpedo. The Iranian warship sank. It was the first time an American submarine had sunk an enemy surface vessel since World War II. Over 70 years, and the U.S. Navy did it without the target ever knowing what hit it. Admiral Cooper confirmed the sinking in the submarine's role. He also confirmed something else. Not a single Iranian ship was underway anywhere in the Persian Gulf, the Strait of Hormuz, or the Gulf of Oman as of March 4th. Iran's navy had been bottled up, burned up, and sent to the bottom in 6 days. With Iran's navy effectively neutralized as a fighting force, the United States moved to the next phase, economic strangulation. On April 12, 2026, after U.S.-Iran peace talks in Islamabad collapsed, Vice President J.D. Vance was unable to reach a deal after a full day of negotiations. President Trump announced a full naval blockade of Iran. CENTCOM declared that U.S. forces would intercept all vessels entering or departing Iranian ports. Every ship, every direction, no exceptions. Admiral Brad Cooper announced the full blockade was implemented on April 15th. By April 19th, the USS Spruance, a guided missile destroyer, opened fire on an Iranian cargo ship called the MV Tuska, attempting to break through the blockade. The Spruance disabled the vessel, then Navy personnel boarded and seized it. It was the first boarding and seizure of an Iranian ship in the conflict. The numbers tell the story of how total the American control had become. 85 vessels intercepted by U.S. forces, 3 ships seized outright, and the blockade costing Iran an estimated $500 million every single day in lost oil revenue. Even by the accounts of Lloyd's List, the shipping industry's most authoritative publication, only 26 vessels managed to bypass the blockade, most of them through diplomatic workarounds, not by force. Iran tried to retaliate. In response to the blockade, it seized 2 foreign cargo ships. It threatened to completely close the strait and strike desalination facilities and power plants across the region. It told China and India, 2 biggest oil customers, that it could still move petroleum through IRGC-escorted corridors. But without a functioning navy to back up those threats, Iran was shouting into the void. Trump issued an ultimatum on March 21st. Open the strait fully within 48 hours or face strikes on Iran's power plants. When Iran doubled down instead of backing down, Trump ordered the Navy to destroy any Iranian boats caught laying mines in the Hormuz. The order to his Navy, as reported by the Associated Press, was direct: shoot and kill. The story of Iran's fleet and what the US Navy did to it is ultimately a story about what happens when a regional military force miscalculates against the most powerful navy in history. Iran went into this conflict with a doctrine built around asymmetric warfare, swarms of fast boats, coastal anti-ship missiles, mines and drones designed to overwhelm and exhaust a technologically superior opponent. That doctrine has worked, in theory and in exercises, for years. It was never truly tested against an American Navy that was authorized to shoot back with everything it had. When that authorization came, when the order was sink them all, the Iranian fleet had no answer. More than 20 ships destroyed. Iran's most operational submarine damaged with a torpedo hole in its side. The IRGC Navy chief killed. Every Iranian port under blockade. The Strait of Hormuz reopening under American escort. And a peace deal signed on June 17, 2026. In Paris, with Trump and Iranian President Pezeshkian both putting pen to paper at the Palace of Versailles. That included Iran's immediate reopening of the strait. The blockade that Iran thought would be its ultimate leverage turned out to be the thing that accelerated its military destruction. The US Navy didn't just run the blockade, it erased the fleet that tried to enforce it. That's the story of what happened in the Persian Gulf in 2026. And that's what it looks like when the most powerful naval force on Earth is finally unleashed.